Howdy, Okapi gang from Bry and Matt. We are doing a little different today. We're going to try this. It is a timer talk. We're going to have 20 minutes each to discuss 10 questions in Elestrals right now. Moonrise is almost completely spoiled. We're still getting some of the full arts, and I think there might be a rune or two that we don't know. We know pretty much the whole set, though. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm always doing good.
I'm always doing good. um, so we're just gonna jump into it. Matt will answer the first question, and then we're gonna do it in like a snake order. So I'll answer the next two, and then Matt will answer questions 2 and 3, and we'll keep going back and forth. We got 10 questions today. So Matt, for the first question or the first topic, what do you think of Clash?
I think it's great for Eastern players. It's a great way for Elestrals to finally hit the worldwide scene and not just be a North American game. Players have been struggling to get into the game because of the current online client, and I think Clash is a good way for people to get their foot into the game.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, my turn on that. I have mixed feelings on Clash. I think it's kind of concerning that we got less than halfway through the milestones on the Kickstarter, but also, like, objectively, it is a good thing, and I'm excited for it. I think the UI looks really pretty. I would compare it to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and that game is immaculate. Somebody asked me the other day, like, what are some games that define genres for me? And Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel is like the best card game simulator that I've ever seen. The cosmetics are great. The economy in the game is so cheap and free to play friendly. The It's fast paced and you can just grind a lot. I think that it might bring in a lot of new players. That's to be seen so far. But yes, I'm excited for Clash. I backed just enough to get the promo packs because uh, I like some of the promos, especially the Artemis and the Eddie for me. Okay, timer is
How much was it
paused.
to back?
Huh?
Oh, okay. How much was it to back for the promos?
You could back for, I think it was, I don't remember. I think it was like $30 total for me, including shipping. But the
Makes
shipping
sense.
was kind of expensive. It was like $5 to $10, or it was like a percentage of it was shipping.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, and I'll be answering this one first, is what are the big picture wants for Clash? My biggest picture wants for Clash are the cosmetic things. I would love more and more boards. I want to see like Acropolis board, Underwater board, Flaming Mountain board, Mount Olympus. I want to see little Elestrals just pop in and out. I would love if you could do like a alternate reality thing where some of the Elestrals hover over cards that are there. I want to see as many alternate arts as we can get. Especially it'd be a cool way to incorporate more fan artists like me and Kelmiri that you don't want to take away the physical monetary space, but it's just a cool option to let more people have options to play with. And overall, the whole cosmetic side is what I'm really excited about. And I hope it does make it easier to get players into the game because a lot of my experience with the game right now is that we're kind of at a weird point where it's hard to get new people in. Okay. So that is my answer to the second question. Matt, it is your turn to answer the second question. Go.
I also want personal Cosmos. More than anything, though, I want cross-platform. Definitely, I think that's going to be implemented. I think that's been confirmed, but I want it to be implemented. All right. So for question 3, specific cosmetics that we want inside of Illustrious Clash. I don't really have any more that I wanted. The only ones that like I really wanted inside the game were the Stellar Eddy and Stellar Ash Rabbit, and it looks like both of those are already going to be in the game. That's it for me.
Okay, specific ones that I want all of the Invoke runes that have archetypes built around them: RT3, Thunderstorm, Avalanche, all to have like, or Sandstorm, Hurricane. I want those all to have like their own. I'd love a beach one for the summer, and a fall one for the fall, like a Stellar Sprouter one. And let's see, and I would also just love in general the little pets that you can get and the emotes that you can spam. Mm. Okay, question 4 are it's a discussion point, not a question. The tri-element types. Okay, so the fourth discussion topic are tri-element cards and archetypes. We're seeing like 2 supported with uh, Moonrise. We have the fire, wind, solar grouping, and then we have the hurricane type grouping. I really love tri-types. The cool thing with tri-types is that you're really locked into a specific combination of elements for your deck, but they are splashable if you're in just 2 elements of those. Well, at the same time, they're I feel like it's going to be tricky to get them strong enough to be playable, because to be 3 types, you have to be pretty spirit intensive, especially on the Elestral side. If there's a tri-type Elestral, which there aren't any right now, but uh, it would be really hard. You have to use 3 normal summons and have 3 spirits of different types for it to have its effect. That's a really big ask. But at the same time, that's one of the coolest parts about Magic, and I think that's one of the cool things about Elestrals. We have some more questions further on that kind of tie into this, but I think the more that the more that elephants feel different from each other, the more that elements feel different from each other, the better the game will be. Okay, and there we go. Go ahead
All right.
on your answer for that.
So for tri-element cards and archetypes, as much as I love how flavorful they are, and as much as I like that deck building restriction, specifically in the spirit deck, there are often times where like I'd just rather see them be omni runes with less powerful effects, because as you've stated, it is very difficult to make a tri-element card worth playing. So for set 4, we've already seen Hurricane, which is a very valuable card, but it's also already in colors that people are specking in for Rabbit and Tsunami. So all you really have to do is tech in 1 Wind Spirit to make it castable. If we were to take out the Water and Thunder and make it in 2 other colors that people play less frequently, such as Solar or Frost, the card would probably be unplayable. So it's very hard to balance and make it worth playing. So like, I would rather give up the 3 color cost in favor of it being less powerful but more playable. And then for question number 5, how to make 3 drops good and fun? That is it's a difficult thing to balance. My take on it is, if you want to make them good, there are only 2 things you can do. And those things are give them immediate value as soon as they hit the board, or provide them with protection, or a mixture of both. Now, a lot of people don't enjoy these big towers that have huge protections. People like playing them. We've seen that before, such as Chronodile and Bull Tempest. But on the receiving end, whenever they work, they're very unfun to play with. So I would just rather see cards that hit the board and get immediate value, whether they draw you 6 cards or, rip multiple cards from your opponent's hand, or special cast 2 or more things from Underworld. I would rather see that than I would some tower with protections. That's it for me.
Okay. First off, I will push back against the playability thing, because I don't think it's fun if everybody's playing the same runes. I think that's what we've been at. I think that that's a card pool restriction, and I get where you're coming from, where if you want a big splashy card, you want it to be playable in decks, like, so it's easy to slot in. It's not going to be worth it to slot in if it's different colors. But I think that that's what we see with a lot of card design. But moving on to the the next question, which is how to make 3-drops good and fun, I definitely agree with you that the biggest thing you need to do is give them immediate value. I like your idea of draw 6 cards. If you play something in a draw 6 cards, that's so cool in like a Johnny way. You feel so powerful, but it's just like, what can I do with those 6 cards? You could probably FDK and Elestrals with that, but effects like that are huge and splashy and cool. I think of Imperawat. Imperawat's so exciting, but he's also really steep to do. I think Imperawat's on the right route. I think Cryoscorch is on the right route. Really, I even like Pharaohgeist, except for the protection side. I agree with you that I've experienced a lot of towers in card games, and they're just not fun. And I had a discussion in one of the servers last night about this cycle that you can make where it's, well, we want to get around these ruins. Everybody's playing Shield, everybody's playing PTA, so I'm going to design some cards that get around those. But after you do that, now the game's not fun because those are too good and everybody just wants to play those Elestrals. So now you have to make the counter runes more specific, tailored toward those cards. And then after you do that, then the natural is, well, now everybody's playing those, so let's make some stuff that gets around those. And so I think the more fun option is to have the the cast triggers. Another option is destroyed triggers, kind of like Pin Terror. I think Pin Terror is also a route you can go, except for I would say with Pin Terror, he's very spirit intensive. He's so spirit intensive that if it doesn't pan out, then you just lose the game. So I think those are the routes that I would want to see. Big, cool, splashy effects. That gives you immediate or inevitable value. Okay, and then I will go on to question 6. Is the card pool too efficient currently? And I think that this is a really deep conversation point right now. Ultimately, it boils down to what kind of game you want. And I personally was having more enjoyment in the format before the bans, but I also like the 1-drop attrition format of Elestrals. I'm not like, to me, I like Nexus. Nexus is super cool, and it's one of my favorite things about Elestrals. I think it does need to be playable for an optimal Elestrals. But I liked having EQ, and resting was a really good comeback piece. I wish there was a way to make a comeback piece that didn't punish Nexus strategies. The Ascension strategies weren't really prevalent anyway, so they're still not super prevalent. So it's kind of messy design there. I think EQ and PTA were too efficient. I think resting was too efficient. I think that they've mildly dealt with it. I would still personally rather have these cards be banned than as one-ofs. I think, though, I don't want to have a huge ban list because we started a little too strong. And at the beginning of the game, we said, hey, we're going to design set 1 strong so that people want to play this game. And I respect that. Is the game too efficient? Maybe. I think it does make it really hard. Like, you have taken away a lot of the dials you can work with by how easy it is to remove things. And there's so many cards that you look at and they're cool, but why would you play them over other options? To an extent, that's always going to happen, though. There's always going to be a best deck. To make a format that would cater to me, I would have originally made single target removal be more expensive, but present at Invoke and Counter Rune level. And then I would also really advocate for efficient removal, but done differently per element, like Cryoblast. I'm not a fan of 1 or 2-drop removal in general, because I think a removal should cost more than the thing you're removing. But that's my answer to that question. We'll let you go for question 6 and 7 then.
Yeah, so number 6 is the card pool too efficient. Yes, absolutely. Cards such as Electric and Jolton will see play in every deck forever because of the fact that they can search any Divine or any Stadium. Cards such as Ash Rabbit, just a generically good card that's too easy to splash into every deck. and the effect is repeatable. The cards limit the design space of Thunder, while also making it more difficult to design cards in other elements, because you would have to make them even more powerful in their own element, because if you don't, then what's the point in playing them over Jolton? We've seen this with cards like Rummikul. In Fire, you can't even compare it to Jolton. And not only can you not compare it to Jolton because of the Stadium Search effect, sure, it can search the Stadium or Stoke the Forge, kind of had to do that, and it gets an attack boost, but also the Thunder Stadium gets you RT3. So I think a big problem with, are the base set cards too powerful, or is the card pool too efficient? However you want to go about that question. Yeah, and the answer is just specifically Thunder. Thunder is kind of the big deal. And then for question 7, which elements feel the most flavorful? Initially, I wanted to say Fire while reading this question, because, a big attack guy, glass cannon, but you don't have a lot of draw power, so you burn out very quickly. But then I thought about it some more, and came to the conclusion that Frost was probably the most flavorful element. It has the most unique divine. It plays into itself very well. You've got these very specific archetypal cards like Morfrost, and you've got now what we know as Self-Mill with the Snowlits and whatnot that we're seeing in Set 4, and I just think there's a lot of ways to go in Frost, and the Divine Rune works with every single one of them, which I find interesting. That's it for me.
Okay, so on element flavor, I would say Fire is actually probably the lowest for me because of how many different directions it goes. Well, it kind of depends. On a strength flavor-wise, Fire is really weak because it's so many different strategies. You have some recursion, you have some special ascension, you have destruction, you have a little bit of tutor, you have some artifact searching. It seems like every set we've gotten a different Fire archetype that isn't backwards compatible with other cards as much as other decks do. I think that the cohesiveness of Frost is why that would be something you gravitate to, and I think that a flavorfully Frost is the Avalanche. I think having a card that you could point at and be like, that's what this element does, like Avalanche, is really good design. The Frost deck is the Avalanche deck. So you read that card, you go, oh, I'm filling up my graveyard or my underworld. Check, gonna do that. And then on top of that, Frost is designed to work around that. You get Frostrix, you get Kione, you get Morlith, you get so many tools that work within that framework. Fire, as a antithesis, doesn't have that. It doesn't have cards that flow together to make a cohesive strategy. So the element as a whole doesn't feel very flavorful. Thunder is another one that I'd put up because it's kind of crazy. The searching, it's really strong, so you can say that feels like Zeus because he's the king of the gods. But I would point out all the power reduction, all the ruin removal, that if you scrape past the broken searchers in Thunder, you get. Wind is my most played deck. I would say that that's a very unflavorful deck. There's not much that feels flavorful in that deck. And water feels. I would say water is up there too with the position changing elements, and the position matters. It feels like tides or currents pushing you around. But that's my answer for that question. Ultimately, I would agree with Frost, though. Number 8 is, what does Elestrals need the most? And, whew, We were talking about lore in the chat today. I think it does really need lore, like, more consistently, more freely. I don't think you need a huge production value on it. It can be something small. I remember Kodak recommended having just a little lore on the website when you open an Elestral. I still agree that that's a good idea. Uh, I am a personal advocate of just doing MTG type story articles, and they can be a separate storyline than what you're doing in the video. So the videos still have the merit and the feeling that they're the most important storyline. But our story is so slow. At the same time, the promo packs have really helped with keeping my local scene together. There's about 4 of us that we on and off meet. We don't meet every week, but every other week, or at least every other week, we meet. And a large driving factor of that is getting those promo packs, honestly. I think that moving forward, we really need to see higher level events to get people more invested, and then to have something to pitch to new players. They're also, um, I don't know, we also should be having conversations about card shop culture and how to encourage people like me that I don't really want to feel like I'm intruding on somebody's card game experience. Like, I don't want to go up to somebody that's playing Commander, be like, hey, do you want to play Elestrals? Uh, but we should find ways for Elestrals to make that more seamless and easier for people to do. Like, I know there are probably plenty of people like me that don't feel like, man, I don't want to propel the scene, but we're gonna have to have people to be the ones to reach out if we're gonna want to grow the player base. And I feel like growing the player base should be like a really high priority right now. But that's my 2 cents. Matt, what do you think?
I think Elestrals needs Clash. I don't think the player base, like the player base wants Clash very badly, but Elestrals needs Clash and it needs it to hit hard. And they also need distributors in other countries. Players need to get easier access to these cards and they need to know what Elestrals is. We have Eastern players that join the server all the time and they want to play the game, but they find it difficult to get their hands on physical cards. Clash and the current digital client are a great way for them to start learning the game as is. But if Elestrals wants to grow in the future, these are the steps I think Elestrals needs to take. And then for question 9, how can Elestrals attract more paper players?
I'll just let you know,
Like
you have more than half your time left still.
That's fine. As for question 9, I'd like to refer back to question 8. Distributors in other countries, manufacturers in other countries, which I know is a big ask. That's not an easy thing to do. But those are the steps that are going to be required if you want to get the physical cards into the hands of as many players as possible. That is just a requirement. The North American scene is growing. It's growing quickly. But you would grow more quickly if you were in multiple places than just trying to focus on this one place. North America is probably the best place to sell collectibles to people, but it would just be better for Elestrals overall if we started to head eastward. And that's it for me on question 9.
Okay, so I kind of jumped ahead, but I think also if I'm gonna say, hey, we really need to invest in getting more players, and we should have a way to make it easier for players to get other people in. I think that I should have workable, like an actual actionable suggestion instead of just well, we should do this and that. Actionably, I think that there could be easy to download pamphlets, and I think there could be more videos that are the lore type videos, not quite, like a mixture of lore and uh, play that are like a pamphlet that has a QR code to the Elestriad, uh, so that you can connect. Like it's easy for me to just go drop a piece of paper to somebody that might be interested in Elestrals. It's really awkward for me to be like, "Hey, do you have like 30 minutes to try to learn this game that I want to play? I know you're here to play this other game, but if you just give them the option to have that on their time, and then also I think the rate that the game is trying to expand, like I think it's a really aggressive, rightfully so, aggressive marketing strategy. I think that you're gonna have to put money into that. Like I think you need something like a regional manager there who goes to the stores for you on a consistent basis, finds out what their area will work the best for getting people to show up, to fill seats, to spend money, to do like card game things. I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It just has to be enough to make it worth the regional people. Um, I know that if we had a night in at my LGS where, hey, we're gonna have like four extra people, that would like just four extra people for one of our LGS nights would be really exciting. It'd be super cool to see what other people would bring. And like if you have somebody focused on trying to get together events like that, that would be, I think, really helpful to getting to expanding. So printouts, uh, regional managers, or I guess you could even do them as volunteers. We should be in more conventions. Dan is doing a good job at being in conventions. Like we're seeing frequent posts about that. Um, but yeah, last question. Let's see. How is Elestrals doing overall? And I have kind of mixed feelings. I would say mostly positive, but a couple critiques. I'd say, okay, first off, the the art and the single card designs are so good right now. The art gets better with every set. The full arts for Moonrise are stunning. I really loved a lot of the Daybreak ones as well. Um, and the individual cards, like the genie, look super cool. You pointed that out, that might be a me deck, and the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, I could toss this in, I can toss that in. Each uh, the thunder element, like the lower archetypes, are super interesting. The frost deck, as we've talked about several times here, is really cool. There's a lot of cool things you could do with fire. There's so much groundwork for a card to come in and just tie it all together. And like Earth is always just kind of fun. Uh, but the individual designs on that are cool too. Solar has a lot of cool designs. It's just the power level is lower than what people want to play. So I think on a design perspective, it is doing good, except for having to deal with this efficiency issue and the cool thing being hard to make good issue. Um, on the critique side, I would say that the momentum that it built up over the course of a year has really slowed down due to production cycle and then slowing down of extra projects. Clash has taken a lot of effort, so I feel like we will see a big payoff from that. I just hope it's proportionate to how much had to get pulled for that. Um, at the same time, I really think we need more higher level, like above LGS draw. And I think the community needs to be more out there so that we can keep growing the game. It's like with a fire, you get the starter lit, you put the small twigs on. I feel like we're at the small twigs stage, but we're having trouble finding small sticks to put on there. Before you get to those big sticks, hey, we're in all the Walmarts, we're having $1 million tournaments, we're having like those are 10-year plans for how small Lustrals is right now. Uh, The current plan, though, I think you need to get more of the small sticks going and burning. Um, I have a little bit of time left, so I guess I'll also just shout out a couple of things about Moonrise that I like. I think the lunar phases, big flavor win. Those are super cool. Uh, posthumous, posthumous. I'm kind of scared if that card is good. Like that's gonna be a format wrecker, but it looks really cool in all of its art, and the design itself is pretty cool. I love Ectopossum. Gloombat's cool. Uh, Snarky is fun. I like Snarky's evolution. I can't remember Ascension. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. Uh, Torch Bro has me excited to play Fire. I added a badge where the idea is you win the game by using Cryo Scorch twice because you got to attack with Torch Bro. Uh, Um, and Hurricane. Oh my god, that card looks so cool. I'm so glad we're getting triple elements. My local said that they are down to try the commander format that I've mentioned. But overall, I think Moonrise is either the best or second best set. It's in contention with Frostfall for me because it really adds really specific, cool archetypes, uh, while at the same time not just breaking the game and really adding a lot to the game. And that's what I think. Go ahead, Matt.
All right. As for question 10, how is Elestrals doing overall? I think they are doing great. Steps are being taken to improve quality of life for players. Arts have been incredible. The mechanics are very unique and stand out. It's met pretty much every goal we've talked about in our last video whenever we discussed what Elestral needs to do to move forward. I can't remember anything from the previous video talking about Elestral's development that it hasn't met. And I would also argue that it's gone above and beyond because I remember us talking about Elestral's current digital client and how it needs to improve. And while it has improved, they have also just taken steps to work with an entirely different team to make a new digital client, which so far looks amazing.
Okay. And you literally still have more than half your time left. So just talk a little bit about Moonrise. What are you looking forward to for Moonrise? Oysters? I love oysters.
I think Hurricane is my favorite Moonrise card. I think that's the direction I want to see Elestrals go in, is like these bigger effects. But also, I don't want to see them start to force these kinds of effects into elements that don't have the support to play by themselves. Like, if you had printed Rise from the Ashes in Solar Frost Wind, it'd be an unplayable card. So, like, I love these big, strong effects, but I want these big, strong effects to be put into elements that are actually splashable. And Thunder and Water right now, I feel, are just too splashable and too strong. So, of course, I do want to see support for these other elements before we start putting these, like, bigger effects into the game. Like, it works with Hurricane because of how strong Thunder and Water already are, but it wouldn't work if Hurricane was in 2 or 3 other elements that don't already see a lot of play.
Okay, do you think water and thunder being that splashable is a good thing or a bad thing?
It's hard to say. Whenever I look at it as a competitive player, I think it's perfectly acceptable because strong cards are always going to be used no matter what. If it's not Thunder and Water, it's just going to be 2 other elements that are overly powerful compared to the other elements. It's hard to balance a game to the point where every element feels equally powerful. Like, there's always going to be a couple standout decks that are just better than the rest. It's difficult to say. If I looked at it from a casual standpoint, I would find it frustrating that Thunder and Water were so much more powerful than the other elements, especially if I wanted to play fire. If I wanted to play fire and only fire, because this is the discussion I've had with a couple other players
Yeah,
already. They want to play fire without having to tech
yeah.
in a bunch of thunder support. And whenever I
It's
talk
kind
to
of
them,
crazy that it's fire in this game that is the weak element. It seems like in other, well, Yu-Gi-Oh has a rocky relationship with fire too, but uh, it seems like with so many dragons running around, that would be the good, like that would be a really strong element.
yeah,
To me,
it's
I'm fine with staples like Thunder and Water have. My prickly point with specifically Thunder is how many of the cards are searching because that slows the game down because you have to shuffle afterwards. The digging through your deck and shuffling on an app, it's
yeah,
not a big deal. In person, it slows the game down if you do it like 3 turns in a row.
yeah. It can also just be very frustrating from a deck building standpoint because not everyone wants to see Jolton, Elegic, or Astrabbit every single game they play. They find that to get super stale after they've played for a year and a half, 2 years. And because of how, you know, strong those effects printed on those cards are, it's difficult to make something in color that's worth playing without completely power creeping the game.
Yep. But with the Elestrals, I've learned just trust and uh like play the game, experience it. Don't just like think like just don't solidify your feelings and then say that that's how it is and then not play the game and then it's completely like it is really fun. Like Astrabbit is a super fun card and everybody knows it's there, so everybody has plans for well if they Astrabbit. Um
Yeah. Not even just Astrabbit, Elegic and Jolton too.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so to close out this video, do you have any last thoughts?
Any last thoughts?
Any Moonrise cards
Uh,
you want to shout out last minute?
Hurricane. Just Hurricane. That card's gonna be nuts.
Okay. Well, thank you, Okapi Gang, for sitting here. Let us know if you like this format. Let us know what else we can talk about. Like and subscribe. It definitely helps on the metrics. And yeah, tell us what you're excited for in Moonrise. Tell us how you would manage the game a little bit. And just have a great day. Everybody that plays Elestrals, everybody that's in the Discord regularly at least, um, have been really positive, and it's a great community. So I hope that this can be a source of we're happy you're here. And y'all have a great day.